Hi, welcome to video 6.3 on transformations of linear and exponential functions. So we're going to start with our linear functions, and we're going to talk about the graphs of these and then how the transformation happened. So for example, I'm going to do the ones with the stars, and then you can try the ones without the stars and then check your answers. So in this one right here, our y-intercept is -3, so that's where I'm going to start my graph, and then I have a slope of 2, which is 2 divided by 1, meaning my 2 is my rise and 3 is my run. So I'm going to go up 2 over 1 and do a few of those to kind of give me an idea as to where my line is going to be. So the things that changed from my f of x equals x up here is that it is steeper, and that happens because of the 2, and then it's also down 3. And that's because of the -3 there. This one right here, y-intercept of 1, and then I'm going to go down 4 over 1 because of the -4 there. So it's going to look like this. And because it's negative, it has reflected. Now this one, because it's looking like this, it doesn't really matter whether I reflect it over the x-axis or over the y-axis. It's still going to look the same. It's going to look like that going across there. But we traditionally think of it as being flipped over the x-axis. So I'm just going to put reflected since it could be either. It is also steeper, and it is up 1. This one right here, y-intercept of -2. And then I'm going to go down 1 over 2, like that. And there we go. And so this one is also reflected. Instead of being steeper, because we have a slope less than 1, then it's going to be flatter, and my y-intercept has gone down 2. Okay, pause the video and try the rest of them, describe the transformation, and give the graph, and then come back and take a look. Okay, there are your answers. And let's go ahead and take a look at some exponential functions. So, exponential functions, we're going to do, let's do a few of them together. So let's do this one, and this one, and this one. We'll do them in kind of the same spot. So let's say we'll put x and y, and let's do -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So if I put 2 to the -2, that's going to be 1/4, and then 1/4 minus 1 is going to be -3/4. And then if I have -1, that's going to be 1/2. 1/2 minus 1 is -1/2. If I have 0, 2 to the 0 power is 1, and then -1 is 0. And then 1, 2 minus 1 is 1. 2 to the second power is going to be 4, minus 1 is 3. So it looks like this. So -2 is -3/4. And then I've got -1/2, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, like that. So it's going to go like this. So basically, the whole thing has gone down 1. This one right here, we'll do the same thing. So here's my x and y, and then I'll do -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. If I have 3 times 2 to the -2, 2 to the -2 is 1/4, so I have 3/4, and then -1 is going to be 1/2, so I have 3/2. 0 is going to make that 1, 2 to the 0 power is 1, 3 times 1 is 3, 2 to the first power is 2, times 3 is 6, and then 2 to the second power is 4, times 3 is 12. So -2 is going to be 3/4, and then 3/2, it's right there, 3, 6, and then 2 is 12. It's too high up. So it's going to go more like this. So in this case, this one is going to grow faster. Sometimes we call that, it would be skinnier if it was a quadratic, but since it's an exponential, it's just starting to go up faster. All right, and then let's do the last one here, or the last one that I'm going to do. And so let's do -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So if I put -2 in there, that is 1/4. So I have -1/4 times +1/4, which is going to be -1/16. If I put the -1 in there, that's 1/2, so that's going to be -1/8. If I put the 0 in there, that's 1, so that gives me -1/4. 1 in there is going to be 2. -2/4 is -1/2, and then 2 is going to be -1. So -2 is -1/16, -1/8, 1/4, 1/2, 1, like that. It's going to end up going like that. So a couple things are happening here. First of all, it is reflected over the x-axis, and it's also growing slower. This 1/4 right here, so the negative is what makes it reflected, and then the 1/4 is what makes it grow slower. Okay, go ahead and pause it and give the other ones a try, and then you can check your answers. Okay, here are your answers for those. And let's go ahead and move over to the next page. These are general rules for transformation. So if we add something to y, or f of x, that gives us an up or down shift. If we add something to x, that either a positive or negative, that's going to give us a left to right shift. If we if we make it negative, then it's going to flip over the y-axis. If it's a linear function, the flip is going to be, or I'm sorry, over the x-axis. If it's a linear function, the flip is going to be over the y-axis. Right here, when we have, when we put something whose absolute value is bigger than 1, it's going to grow faster. If we put something whose absolute value is between 0 and 1, then it grows slower, or we say becomes wider or compressed. Okay, so let's take a look at what's going on here. We're going to write some functions. So like, for instance, if we have this one right here, we're looking at the parent function of 5 to the x power, and if we want it 2 units up, we're going to add 2 to that. This one, we want it 2 units right, and we want it reflected. And this, we're going to flip it over the x-axis. I think they made a mistake there. So we're going to flip it over the x-axis, and that's going to be -5x plus 2. So this moves it 2 units right. This flips it over the x-axis. This one right here, we're going to do, we want it 3 units to the left. So that means we're going to subtract, from the x, and then the units down right there. This one, now we have 2x. If we want it 2 units up, we're going to do 2x plus 2. If we want it stretched or narrowed, meaning it's going to get steeper by a factor of 3, we're going to multiply 3 by that, and that's going to give us 6x. This one, we want it compressed by 1/2. So if we take 1/2 of 2, that gives us 1. So that's going to be a slope of 1 with x. And then we want it 5 units down, which is -5. Okay, we're going to look at the rest of these and figure out what's going to happen to them. So if we add 5 to the x, that's going to be 5 right. If on this one we put our 4 in there, that's going to be, so take this and add 4, it's going to be up 4. This one, we're going to put, we're going to multiply it by 2, and we're going to put in the -3 there, so this is going to be left 3, and then it would be steeper, or growing twice as fast. Okay, so those are the transformations. Write down any questions that you have and we'll talk about them next class.